Hi, for our presentation today, I thought I would share with you a little photo book that we made, and I can also send over a copy. It's a little more fun in person and have it be tactile. So my name's Celia Paymer, and I started the Cuesta Pollinator Habitat. Obviously not by myself, but I was kind of the person who kept rolling the ball forward. Um, so as you can see here, it progressed from an area in Cuesta Park that was just grass space that was being watered 4 times a week. And we reduced the watering, added biodiversity, and added some native trees as well. And so you can see over the 4 years, it has moved to be a native habitat. So it started with, again, a space that was grass. It's about 10,000 square feet. It has Cuesta Drive on one side. That is a 4-lane road. It has the driveway into the tennis facility at Cuesta Park on another side. And then on the third side is the Cuesta Annex, and it makes a bit of a triangle there. It includes a large ginkgo tree, a couple pines, and it already included a couple oak trees that had been planted previously when a stone pine had to be removed. Those were planted as a sort of replacement. So these are some of our starting volunteers. Again, it was not just a singular effort. So we coordinated through over a year of meeting with city staff to agree on a location and the boundaries for our project. Once we were approved, about a year later, we had to sheet mulch all of the grasses. Much of it was invasive Bermuda grass. So in the first year, our volunteers contributed over 300 hours. The volunteer group is made up of neighborhood residents, members of St. Timothy's congregation, city council members. There's Lucas Ramirez over there, and my mom as well. Work days were and are still mostly on a bi-weekly schedule with 2 to 4 hours of work per event. Volunteer attendance always varies from 4 to 22 gardeners per workday, with an average. It was 8 to 12, but as maintenance has reduced after plants have been established, it's closer to 6 to 8 each workday. We had to trench along all the hardscape to allow for the mulch to not overflow and fall out. We covered everything with cardboard, much of which was donated by Costco. They call them slip sheets, and we'll hold them to the side for you if you organize with them. And then we covered that with 4 to 6 inches of mulch that was provided by the city and wet it all down to keep it in place, and slowly worked our way across 10,000 square feet, which if you add it up is a lot of mulch. So it also acts as a carbon capture those first rounds as we add the mulch. We haven't been adding as much since then, mostly just on paths, as we allow the plants themselves to create their own mulch. Our first plants and seeds were purchased using a grant from Happy Hollow, and we sourced those plants and seeds from California Native Plant Society sales and Linda Vista, and a lot of them I started on my counter. Many of our original plants were eaten by rodents, especially our lupins, which we were very sad about, and the yarrows. Luckily, we do have some local populations of herons that do help with our rodent control. They eat them, as well as a breeding pair of hawks that help keep those under control. We've mostly just watched for what they don't eat and plant more of that to compensate. In the first year, we were mostly hand watering. Once we had a Xerxes Society donation of almost 1,000 plants, we switched to drip line irrigation for those sort of field and meadow areas that have lots and lots of plants in them. So under the mulch is a drip irrigation system. It is all still manually controlled though. This is us planting that Xerxes Society plant grant. My son's out there as well, even on the rainy days. When you got to get 1,000 plants in the ground, you want to get them in during the proper planting season, which in California is October and November. At local tabling events, we had children paint rocks, and then we used those rocks to label the plants. So we did the labeling, they did the painting. We coordinated with local Girl Scout troops on their Gold Award project. They did education in the garden at a few events. They helped label the rocks, and they also helped with planting. And they built these bee houses, bee hotels that we also have in the park. And here's some plants as they started growing, showing the different varieties of the blooms that came in. We've been doing transects through the garden, and we saw an exponential growth in pollinators within the in our pollinator space, and across the street in the green space we had a control area which remained at very few pollinators per transect that we performed. So we've seen a huge growth in types of pollinators as well as quantity, and we see now lots of lizards, different kinds of birds also visit, and we're hoping as we go forward to see even more and more of these native animals and creatures in our garden. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.